1. The carpenter and the ruler. In the village, there was an old carpenter who was famous for his accurate measurements. An apprentice liked to work quickly and always criticized the master for taking too long to measure. One day, a rich man asked him to erect a beam for his daughter's wedding. The master told the apprentice, "Measure 7 times and cut once." The apprentice replied, "Once is enough, you can see it." After they sawed and erected the beam, the roof tilted an inch. A strong wind blew and the roof shook like cold teeth. The master calmly took the old ruler and remeasured each wooden joint. He adjusted a little at the east end, a little at the west end. The apprentice looked and did not understand why he made so many corrections despite so few mistakes. By afternoon, the roof was as calm as a mountain. The rich man was happy and thanked him profusely. The master turned to his apprentice. "Being fast is a habit. It is discipline." The apprentice blushed and asked to take the ruler to measure again. That night, he placed the ruler under his pillow, as if keeping the warning in his dream. Lesson: being quick is knowing how to stop to measure correctly. 2. A bowl of tea. A scholar visited a wise man talking about his achievements. The wise man remained silent, poured a full cup of tea, and continued pouring. The water spilled onto the table, wetting his sleeve. The scholar panicked. "Sir, it's overflowing." The wise man smiled. "My heart overflows like that too. When the cup is full, one more drop will spill." The scholar bowed his head and said no more. He handed over a dry towel and said, "Wipe the table and sit down." Out in the yard, a gentle breeze carried the scent of grapefruit flowers. In the room, the breathing became less rapid. The scholar poured another cup, this time only 7 parts full. The hot water emitted steam like thin clouds. The scholar drank, feeling the astringent taste turn sweet in the back of his throat. Knowledge does not enter through the mouth, but through the heart's stillness. The Confucian scholar bowed 3 times, and from there learned the art of silence. Lesson: if you want to receive more, you must reduce what is already full. 3. The foggy mirror. A rich merchant liked to hang a mirror to look at himself every morning. The mirror became more and more foggy, and he angrily yelled at his servant. The servant changed the mirror, but after a few months it became foggy again. He invited the craftsman to come, and the craftsman said the mirror was not broken, but was just dirty from angry breath. He sneered, "What mirror is afraid of human breath?" The craftsman brought a basin of water and wiped the mirror in front of him. In the mirror, his face was red as coal. His eyes were full of fatigue. The craftsman said, "The fire in my heart blurs everything." He kept quiet, opened the door early the next day, and walked along the river. The cool river breeze and the sound of fishing nets woke him up in the morning. He made a habit of breathing deeply before looking in the mirror. A week later, the mirror was still bright, and he didn't need to wipe it. He understood it wasn't the mirror that was broken, it was his mind that was cloudy. From then on, he spoke more gently to the workers, and his business was also better. Lesson: if you want to see life clearly, first wash away the dust in your heart. Bamboo bows its head. In a big storm, the cotton tree at the village entrance broke down. The bamboo bush behind the temple only bowed. The storm passed and stood still. The young man laughed at the weak bamboo. The old scholar shook his head. The old scholar said, "Bamboo knows how to bow to keep its roots. Rice keeps its top but loses its trunk." The young man asked, "Is it true that being humble is smart?" The old scholar replied, "Being humble is not cowardly, but knowing how to keep what needs to be kept." A few years later, the government changed its tax policy. Those who are stubborn suffer. Those who know how to be gentle live in peace. The young man remembered the broken cotton tree, so he learned to speak slowly. In the market, he knew how to take a step back to get 2 parts. When arguing, he breathed before speaking. Friends said he was smart. He just looked at the bamboo bush, smiling slightly. Lesson: Bow your head at the right time. Look up for a long time. The pebble and the scale. A small lawsuit upset the whole village. Both sides said they were right. Each had a point. The district magistrate invited a meeting at the communal house, put a scale on the table. He told each side to put a pebble to represent their words. Both put it down. The scale tilted towards the talkative person. The district magistrate shook his head and dropped another white pebble. The scale suddenly balanced. Everyone was excited. What is the white pebble? The magistrate said, the truth belongs to no one but to justice. Both sides were silent, looking at each other. They reduced their demands, admitting their mistakes. The lawsuit ended over a tea party. From then on, the villagers put a small scale in the family temple. Whoever argued first looked at the scale to make their minds less biased. Lesson: justice is a white pebble that does not side with either side. The fisherman and the net slow. The young fisherman wove a net with a wide gap, thinking it would save work. The old man said, a wide gap catches big fish, but small fish slip through. The young man smiled, I only need big fish. The first season, he was lucky, pulling in a few big ones. The next season, the big fish became fewer and fewer, and the sea was deserted. The old man still leisurely pulled the net with a small gap, and there were both big and small fish. The young man asked, why isn't your net torn? He replied, it's because of greed that it's torn, not the rope. The young man remained silent, weaving the net again, his hands aching but his heart light. That year, the fish returned to shore, and the village's kitchen was red with fire. He understood, keeping the small things will help to grow bigger tomorrow. Lesson: don't let your greed for big things make you lose the things that nurture big things. 7. The old man's horse. The old man's precious horse ran away. The neighbors regretted, what bad luck. The old man smiled, who knows if it's a blessing. A few days later, the horse returned, leading the herd. The neighbors were happy. What a blessing. The old man said again, who knows if it's a curse. His son rode a new horse and broke his leg. Everyone sighed, what a curse. The old man remained calm. Who knows if it's a blessing. The mandarin called young men to go to war, but his son stayed home because of a broken leg. The village saw him off in the sad afternoon smoke. The old man cooked a large pot of porridge and shared it with the old mothers. Everyone gradually understood that blessings and misfortunes turn like a wheel. Lesson: don't rush to judge gains and losses. When your mind is calm, the situation changes. 2 wolves. The boy asked his grandfather, in my heart, there are 2 wolves, one angry, one gentle. Which one wins? The grandfather replied, which one do you feed more? The boy thought, I often feed the angry one. He smiled and handed over a bowl of rice. Let's try feeding the gentle child today. He helped the neighbor carry water. In the afternoon, he picked up trash in the communal house yard. At night, he found himself sleeping more soundly. The next day, he gave up his seat on the horse carriage. The gentle wolf seemed to grow up, its eyes brighter. He gradually forgot about the other one. When the exam came, his hands no longer trembled for fear of losing to others. Lesson: the mind that is nurtured is the mind that we follow in life. Wind chimes. The teacher's house had a wind chimes hanging on the porch. On a hot day, the wind blew, and the bell rang clearly. The student asked, does the bell have the ability to dispel heat? The teacher said, it doesn't dispel heat, it just reminds you that there is still wind. When the mind is hot, remember that there is still coolness somewhere. The student wrote that sentence on the cover of his book. Once he was wronged, he decided to argue to the end. The wind blew through the porch and the bell rang clearly. He stopped and drank a cup of water. After a while, the person admitted his mistake. He smiled and bowed. Lesson: when it's hot, Stop for a moment, the wind will come. The carrying pole. Two people carry a heavy pole. The person in front keeps complaining it's too heavy, walking unsteadily. The person behind quietly adjusts his hands to the balance point. The pole suddenly becomes half as light. The person in front asks, "Why are you so strong?" The person behind replies, "Not stronger, just change the position of the load." In the house, everyone has a heavy part and a light part. If you keep blaming each other, the whole house will tilt. If you know how to move your hands, the whole house will straighten. The person in front understands, moves his hands up a little. The pole goes over the slope without falling. Lesson: being smart is not about carrying less, but knowing how to put the force in the right place. 11. The oil lamp. In a poor village, there was a student named Tan who studied under a small oil lamp every night. The lamp was old, the light was weak, and the smoke blackened the walls. Friends often teased him, "The lamp is so dim, what can you learn? It only harms your eyes." But Tan persisted. Each Chinese character and each number was carefully recorded. One winter night, a cold wind blew strongly, and the lamp went out. The whole room was plunged into complete darkness. Tan panicked, quickly used both hands to block the wind, and lit the lamp again. Sweat poured out, but the light flickered back. He continued reading, his eyes brighter than the lamp. Many years later, Tan passed the imperial examinations and became famous. The Mandarin in the court asked, "Who taught you to be so persistent?" Tan smiled and replied, "It was that small oil lamp." The official was shocked and asked, "Why is it a lamp?" "Because it is small and weak, but it never gives up shining in the dark." Tan bowed his head, tears glistening on his eyelashes. Later generations, hearing the story, admired his persistent will to learn even more. Lesson: perseverance and dedication are the true lights that lead to success. The lock and the key. In the capital, there was an official named Lai who was famous for being strict. He often shouted at his soldiers, and even the slightest mistake would result in heavy punishment. One day, he needed to open the granary to save the starving people. But when he looked for the key, he discovered it was missing. The guards trembled, afraid of being punished. Official Ly was angry and was about to beat him. A brave soldier said, "Sir, no matter how precious a lock is, it is useless without the key." The official paused. His heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He suddenly thought, "I am like a lock, and the soldiers are the keys. Without them, all his orders were just wind." He lowered his whip and ordered to find another key. While waiting, he distributed his own rice to the poor people waiting outside. When the warehouse opened, the people cheered in gratitude. The soldiers also bowed their heads, seeing the gentle Mandarin for the first time. From then on, the Mandarin spoke softly, and the soldiers were more loyal. Lesson: a wise leader does not think he is everything but knows how to lead others. A bundle of chopsticks. An old father had 3 sons who often argued. Every day they argued loudly, each thinking they were right. The old father was tired and thought of a way to teach them. He gave each son a chopstick and said, "Try to break it." They broke it right away, breaking it into pieces. The father nodded, gathered a bundle of chopsticks, and gave it to all 3 to break. They tried their best. The veins on their hands stood out, but they could not break. Father smiled. "Do you understand? One is easy to break, but together we are strong." The 3 brothers were silent, looking at each other in embarrassment. After that, Father passed away, but the teaching still rang in their ears. In the year of crop failure, there was not enough rice to eat. The 3 brothers joined forces, plowed the fields together, and planted more cassava. They divided the food equally, no longer fighting. The villagers praised, "Those brothers became smart thanks to the bundle of chopsticks." The story spread throughout the region, becoming a lesson for many generations. Lesson: unity is the greatest strength. surpassing all petty disputes. The Student and the Wrong Essay. A student named Min was famous for his quick wit and fluent writing. One day, Min showed his essay to his teacher. After reading it, the teacher looked serious, his face full of red lines. Min blushed, angry. The teacher hates me, that's why he criticized me like that. He went home, burned the essay in anger, but when the fire burned, he felt empty inside. The next morning, the teacher called Min, gave him a clean copy. It was Min's essay, but the teacher had edited every sentence, every word. The teacher said, "Your essay is precious, so I carefully edited it. People hate it, so I don't care." Min was stunned, tears falling down. From then on, Min studied harder, was more humble. Many years later, Min passed the exam and was grateful to the teacher for the rest of his life. When he became famous, he often said, "My teacher loved me with red pen." Everyone who heard nodded. Lesson. The person who pointed out our mistakes is the one who loves us the most. The boat on the lake. One foggy morning, a young man rowed his boat out to the lake. Suddenly, a boat rushed over, hitting the side of the boat hard. He got angry and shouted, "Who is rowing so recklessly?" But when he got closer, he saw that it was just an empty boat, pushed by the wind. He was silent, his anger gradually cooling down. His friend laughed. "If you get angry over an empty boat, how much more so a real person?" He thought about that saying for a long time. The next day, in the market, someone accidentally bumped into him. He was about to yell, but then he suddenly remembered the empty boat. He sighed and let it go. The other person turned around, bowed his head, and apologized. He smiled. "It's just a small matter." From then on, he became less hot-tempered and lived a more peaceful life. Lesson. Sometimes anger is just fighting with the empty boat. 16. Seeds and Big Trees. A boy named Anne asked his teacher, "How can I become a strong adult?" The teacher smiled and gave him a seed. "Plant it and you will understand." And planted it, but the harsh sunlight made the soil dry and cracked. The seed remained dormant and did not germinate, and wanted to give up, but the teacher said, "Just be patient." One day, the rain came, the soil softened, and the seed sprouted a small green sprout. Day after day, the sprout endured the sun and wind, growing up. Over many years, it became a tall tree with strong roots. The teacher took Anne to the shade of the tree. The small seed of the past has now become a big tree. Anne was silent, understanding that it was hardship that had nurtured the tree to maturity. Lesson. Only those who have overcome the rain and sun can become big trees. The Farmer and the Cow. And one day, the neighbor's cow ran into Farmer Hoa's rice field. It trampled a row of green young rice. Hoa was angry, picked up a stick, and was about to beat the cow to death. The old man next to him quickly stopped him. "The cow is hungry, don't kill it." Hoa was panting and finally dropped the stick. He led the cow back to the barn and fed it dry straw. The cow's owner came and bowed his head in shame. He apologized and paid double the amount of rice he had lost. Hoa accepted but felt more relieved than angry. That night, Hoa slept well, no longer resentful. Lesson. Forgiveness does not make us lose. On the contrary, it brings us more than anger. The Flute on the Mountain. A poor woodcutter named Phúc lived alone on the mountain. Every afternoon, he played the flute. The sound echoed throughout the forest. A rich man passed by and asked, "What do you get when you play the flute?" Phúc smiled, "Peace of mind." The rich man scorned, "What can you buy with peace of mind?" Phúc replied, "Buy a good night's sleep." That night, the rich man tossed and turned, remembering the sound of the flute. The next morning, he came to ask to learn how to play the flute. The sound of the flute sounded, and his mind calmed down. He realized Money cannot buy peace. Lesson: true wealth is when the mind is at peace, not when the wallet is full. Dirty hands. A child named Kang played in the dirt. His hands were covered in mud. He tried to pick up rice, but his mother stopped him. Wash your hands first. Kang was upset, thinking that his mother was difficult. When he grew up, Kang became an official and tried cases. One day, he was about to sign the death sentence for a suspect. Before signing, he remembered his mother's words, "Dirty hands make dirty rice." He stopped and had it re-examined. As a result, he discovered that the defendant was innocent. Kang breathed a sigh of relief, telling himself, "Only clean hands can sign." Lesson: cleanliness is not only in the hands, but also in the mind and conscience. The rusty knife. A poor woodcutter kept his old rusty knife. His friends criticized him. "Why don't you throw it away and buy a new one?" He sharpened it every day, and the knife became sharp again. A rich man bought a shiny new knife, but after a few months it became dull and he threw it away. His knife was still sharp and cut trees easily. He smiled. "Knives are like people. If you don't sharpen them, they will rust." The villagers listened and nodded. Many young people came to him to ask him to teach them how to sharpen knives. He said, "Not only do you sharpen your knife, but you also sharpen your character." Lesson: a wise person is someone who never forgets to sharpen himself throughout his life. 21. The blacksmith and the sword. An old blacksmith spent his whole life refining iron. He had a young student who was impatient to quickly create a sharp sword. The young man had not heated the steel enough, so he quickly struck the hammer. The steel warped and cracked. The boy was angry, thinking that his teacher was deliberately hiding the secret. The teacher just smiled and patiently blew the bellows again. The fire was red, the steel was as bright as a small sundae. He slowly struck each hammer blow, as steady as a heartbeat. The young man looked, sweat pouring out, but he began to understand. After 3 days and nights, the sword was complete, sharp and shining on his face. The teacher gave it to his student. This sword is not only made by hammering, but also by patience. The young man bowed his head, knowing that haste would only lead to breakage. Lesson: iron must endure fire to become a sword, and people who want to be talented must endure hardship. 22. Fishing by the lake. A student often skipped school to go fishing at the lake. The teacher knew but did not stop him immediately. One day, the teacher and the student went to the lake. The teacher sat down, dropped the line, no bait. The student laughed. "How can I fish?" The teacher calmly said, "I don't want fish, I want silence." The student was silent, looking at the lake surface as calm as a mirror. Suddenly he felt his heart soften. The next day, the teacher asked, "What did you learn?" The student replied, "Fishing without fish is like studying not just for grades." The teacher smiled, stroked his beard, "So you understand." Lesson: the value of work is not always in the result, but in the peace of mind. True friends. There were 2 boys who became sworn brothers. One time, they went to trade together and they argued on the way. The older brother got angry and slapped the younger brother. The younger brother did not reply, but wrote on the sand, "Today you slapped me." In the afternoon, the 2 crossed the river together. The younger brother almost drowned. The older brother saved him. When he reached the shore, the younger brother carved on the rock, "Today you saved me." The older brother was surprised and asked, "Why did I ask you to write on the sand, but when I saved you, you carved on the rock?" The younger brother smiled. "Mistakes should be blown away by the wind, but gratitude should be remembered deeply." Lesson: a lasting friendship is knowing how to forget mistakes and remember gratitude. 24. Water drops on leaves. A young monk looked at a sparkling dewdrop on a lotus leaf. He asked his master, "Why doesn't the water drop fall?" The master replied, because the leaves lift it up. The young monk was curious, but when the sun rises, does it disappear? The master smiled. Disappearing is not lost, but returning to heaven. The young monk thought. His eyes suddenly brightened. The next day, the young monk was scolded by his friend and was sad. The master asked, "Why are you sad?" The boy replied, "I miss the dew. I will also let go of anger like that." The master nodded, knowing that the student understood. Lesson: don't hold on to everything. There is coming and going. That is freedom. 25. The Night Watchman. There was a night watchman in the village. He went on patrol every night, striking the wooden fish 3 times. Many people criticized him for being useless, only knowing how to strike the wooden fish and disturb sleep. One night, a thief sneaked in, heard the sound of the wooden fish, and ran away in fear. The villagers understood the value of that sound. From then on, everyone respected the night watchman. He smiled kindly. The sound is monotonous, but it keeps the peace. Lesson: a seemingly small job can protect the whole community. 26. The Chess Learner. A young man was passionate about chess, but lost every day. He was discouraged and wanted to give up. An old man taught, winning or losing is not on the chessboard, but on the mind. He showed him how to sit still, look carefully at each piece. Don't rush to make a move. See the whole board. He listened, practiced patience. Gradually, he stopped losing. He realized that chess taught him to live, look far, think long, move steadily. Lesson: winning in life is like winning in chess. You need patience and vision. 27. The Golden Bell. In the temple there is a golden bell. Every time the wind blows, it rings. A young monk asked, "Does the bell ring by itself?" The monk replied, "No, the bell rings when the wind comes." The young monk asked again, "So is the bell or the wind more important?" The monk laughed, "Without the bell, the wind passes by meaninglessly. Without the wind, the bell is silent." The young monk realized life is the same. There are people who are good, but when they don't have the opportunity, they remain silent. Having an opportunity without knowing how to prepare is useless. Lesson: success is the meeting of talent and luck. 28. The Boss and the Apprentice. A shop owner gave his apprentice $1 a day. The apprentice was dissatisfied. Too little. The boss did not say anything, increased it to $2, then $3. The apprentice was happy, worked hard. One day, the boss reduced it to $1 again. The apprentice angrily left. The boss laughed. "You only look at money, not at the job." Many years later, the apprentice failed, remembered, and understood. The teacher wanted to train patience. Lesson: learning a job is more valuable than learning money. Wisdom is knowing the long-term value. 29. The Water Bucket. A village was thirsty, had to carry water from a far stream. There were 2 people traveling together. One used a new, beautiful, but heavy bucket. The other used an old bucket with holes. Along the road, water leaked out, wetting the grass along the path. In season, the path was full of brilliant wildflowers. The villagers liked to pass by, thanking those with leaky baskets. He realized flaws are not always bad. Lesson: knowing how to accept shortcomings sometimes brings unexpected good things. The Stone in the Shoe. A young man was walking a long way. His feet were aching. He took off his shoes and saw a small stone. He was angry. "Why does a small stone make me suffer like this?" The person walking with him laughed. In life, small things that are not discarded will hurt forever. The young man was silent, picked up a stone and threw it across the road. He walked lightly, smiling. Lesson: don't underestimate small things, discard them to go far. So, together we have gone through 30 ancient wisdom stories. simple yet profound teachings that can illuminate a person's entire life. Each story is like a small lamp, leading us from the darkness of mistakes, anger, greed, to the light of peace, humanity, and wisdom. But this is only the first part. Ahead are 30 more stories, deeper and more subtle, promising to bring you even more valuable lessons to live wisely, live fully, and live peacefully for life. And remember to subscribe to the channel, press the notification bell, or follow the page so you don't miss part 2 of this collection. Because sometimes just one of those stories can change the way you look at life.